Hey, it's me again. I originally wanted to continue on Chinese history, but then I decided to postpone that and address something that I have always wanted to talk about. A couple of days ago, a discussion was held at the Hong Kong Legislation Council on the proposed amendment on the marriage ordinance, which once passed would allow transsexuals who have completed gender reassignment surgery to be married. The current law only recognizes heterosexual marriage. The amendment rose from a famous court ruling last year where a trans woman known as W was allowed to marry her boyfriend despite the fact that she has not yet completed her reassignment process. The amendment itself was placed in a rather awkward position because on the one hand you have the usual conservatives opposing of any changes to the marriage law, but on the other hand only giving marriage rights to those who have undergone a complete reassignment surgery. It's in self-contradictory to last year's court ruling, which, as you can imagine, is also not welcomed by the trans community. And here's where I decided to jump in and briefly address the state of LGBTQ rights in Hong Kong. A few weeks ago, I was talking to a professor on the same issue, and he said that the backlash from religious groups in Hong Kong has been unexpectedly strong because, the Hong Kong public is generally seen as progressive and strong on human rights compared to their mainland counterparts, which is why a lot of people were shocked to see the angry response from religious groups when gay marriage was placed on the table. This is also why I believe theoretically Taiwan and mainland China would eventually be ahead of Hong Kong in terms of gay marriage, because Taiwan has a more mature gay rights alliance and that the mainland China government is straightly atheist, so religious groups can never get in the way of this kind of legislation. Although in the case of mainland China, the issue falls behind many other more serious social problems, so it's never prioritized, which is why I said theoretically. Well, in reality, I don't see marriage equality happening in mainland China anytime soon. But back to Hong Kong. This city does have religious freedom, which is good, but I must say I'm baffled by the fact that religious groups are even in this discussion in the first place. Because what is religious freedom? It means that you're free to believe or not believe in a religion, and that you're free to practice or not practice any religion, and that all religions are equal and are restricted by the same laws. And also there's the separation of church and state. Which is why I don't understand why the voice of religious groups is somehow more important than others in the case of marriage equality. Because do you seek advice from the religious right when it comes to electing the chief executive of Hong Kong? Or how about when you're drafting financial policies or educational reforms? No. Then why do they get to define marriage when gay people just want to get married and have no interest in keeping straight couples from getting married? Let's get real here. Being religious does not make you a better person. It does not give you a moral high ground or authority over others. It does not make you more right or virtuous than others. It also means that your opinion is, as a religious person or organization, is not more important or valid than those that are not. And really, why does religion suddenly become a factor only when we're discussing marriage? I mean, is religion even relevant? Why do gay people have to seek their approval to get married? I mean, why do they even matter? Did they seek the LGBTQ community of their approval when, they want to marry a straight couple in their church? Those who oppose to any amendment of the law simply state that marriage is only between a man and a woman, and that recognizing same-sex marriage would lead to the collapse of family values and etc. The usual stuff. They even went as far as saying that anti-discrimination laws would give the LGBTQ community privileges, and those who oppose to such regulations would become second-class citizens. Now, first of all, nobody cares about your cishet tears. Secondly, you're right. It will make you feel like a second-class citizen. Because, hell yeah, this is how you're supposed to feel when you think minority groups should be left unprotected from discrimination. Because guess what? you're seen as a terrible person only because of your opinion. But those from the LGBTQ community are seen as terrible people because of who they are. You can walk out of the building and go back to being your first-class citizen as long as you don't spill your bigotry. But those from the LGBTQ community are treated as second-class citizens every waking moment because assholes like you thinks it's okay to discriminate against them. You're supposed to feel bad for being a bigoted jerk, because denying sexual minorities of their basic human rights to be treated like a human being and at the same time complain about their privileges, it's equivalent of calling a hungry person greedy for wanting bread and milk when you can enjoy your lobsters and steaks. What you don't understand is that while you're complaining about a hypothetical future of being treated as second-class citizens, those sitting on the other side of the room are already treated as second-class citizens, and somehow their actual problems matter less than your baseless fear. And it always comes down to how quickly the oppressors see themselves as victims when the oppressed rise up and call for equal rights. LGBTQ people aren't asking for more rights, they're asking for equal rights, and getting married to a loved one and enjoy the legal protections that come along with it is a basic human right. To deny their access to marriage rights because of your morals or religious beliefs shows your fundamental misunderstanding of what freedom of speech means. Your religious freedom does not grant you the power to impose your religious views onto others, nor does it make a religious opinion more valid than a non-religious opinion. Plus, your opinions don't matter because you aren't making any fucking sense. And then there's also the stigma around transgender people. Those who are against the amendment believes that this is equivalent to recognizing gay marriage and allowing trans people access to places such as public bathrooms, which would encourage sexual harassment or even sexual assault. Now, I personally don't see any relation between marriage and sexual crime, but where's your evidence? Do you have any data to back you up, or are you just spilling your prejudice and hoping that your bigotry could become written law? There's no causation, save any correlation. Even if there is, shouldn't straight marriage be the bigger problem? I mean, look at all these straight people getting married and all these straight people sexually harassing and assaulting others. And if you really want to address the problem of sexual harassment, how about we discuss a case last year when a transgender scholar from overseas was sexually harassed by Hong Kong customs officers? What does that say about Hong Kong's morals on LGBTQ rights? In terms of law amendment, if anyone's voice should be taken seriously, it should be the voice of the trans community. Because while cisgender people cannot get over the fear of sharing a public changing room with a trans person, transgender people face the everyday dilemma of whether to kill themselves because this is such a terrible world for them to live in. Something is seriously fucked up with your mind if you think your hypothetical fear it's more important than someone else's most basic human rights. This city does not have marriage equality, and it isn't even safe for transsexuals. And in the 4 years that I have lived here, I have come to realize that a lot of the values that Hong Kong has been known for have become mere symbols of its past glory. I hope I'm wrong, but I would say that equality, diversity, and acceptance are no longer values embraced by the general public, and that Hong Kong doesn't seem to miss them much. I'll see you next time.